an adult child of a narcissist. Anna Valerius says. Narcissistic design. Simulated family. Two models of family. Family is a foundational structure to a society or community. It is itself a community. A community has the right to restrict the access of criminals and other destructive types from the rights and privileges that the community confers on those who live within certain rules of decency. This function of a community is imperative if the members are to have a reasonable expectation of safety and happiness. What I'm describing is how a healthy family functions. In a healthy family there are rules for conduct which are based on objective moral reasoning. Because there are rules of conduct, there are also expectations of accountability when rules are broken. There is an authority structure, but authority figures are not exempt from the rules. They are set up as examples and have a strong sense of their need to lead by example. The healthy family structure strongly encourages personal integrity to principle. By principle I mean objective standards of moral behavior. The healthy family is truth-based and would rather know the ugly truth than live in a pretty lie. Truth-based societies are ones which believe in freedom. You won't find any society, be it a family or a nation, which has a freedom-loving tyrant at the helm. Principles of freedom take us back to the concept of accountability. A free people recognize the principle of free choice. You can freely choose to break rules, but that means you are also choosing to experience the consequences of your choices. Rule breakers are dealt with fairly. Persistent rule breakers in a freedom-loving society will finally convince the society that they have chosen to be outside the community. When we are talking about society at large, then banishment occurs within the prison system. In a family it means the family withdraws contact in order to protect its innocent and vulnerable members. Loyalty is to principle more than personalities. One last feature of a healthy family community I'd like to mention is how it recognizes the equality of worth of its members. While there is an authority structure, and roles within that structure, there is also a recognition of the intrinsic and equal value of each soul. The father figure isn't more valuable as a person just because he is the breadwinner and authority figure. He has a role within the family which is important to its proper functioning, but that doesn't grant him a position of higher worth as a human being. Hierarchy is based on authority and role, not on scale of human worth. The higher tends to serve the lower. The higher bears greater responsibility to those in their care. Self-sacrifice is seen at the top, leading by example to its younger and less authoritative members. All the features I've defined here are truth-based and love-based. They rely on the truth that our behaviors affect other people and our responsibility to make sure our behaviors do not trample on the rights of others. There is a type of family structure which has some claims on respectability, but only when observed casually or from a distance. I like to call it the mob family model. When examined from all angles, one realizes that the mob family is nothing more sophisticated than the law of the jungle. It is a might-makes-right structure of behavior. The mob family is a counterfeit of a healthy family. It has a code of conduct. It has a high standard of loyalty. It has a hierarchy of authority. It has principles. It has a code of punishment for those who break the rules. Two qualities of a healthy family. The mob family doesn't have a convincing counterfeit to integrity, to objective principles of moral behavior and true freedom with self-sacrifice. Let's look a little closer at the mob family. The primary focus is its hierarchy. There is a pecking order. Think animal kingdom here. There is a hierarchy not just of authority but of basic worth of each individual. The higher up the ladder of hierarchy, the more your apparent personal worth. The one at the top is of greatest worth. Therefore all energies and resources are first diverted to the top, with the goodies trickling downward. The one on the bottom rung gets the crumbs. Every individual becomes a tyrant of the one or ones below them. Every individual is a sycophant and servant of the one or ones above. This system only rewards selfishness. Therefore, each individual acts subservient to the one above only until they are able to gain an advantage over them. This reality is what exposes the falseness of the strong loyalties that seem to keep the cohesion of this type of family. The only consistent loyalties are to self. There is always someone who is able to claim the top position of the mob family. The one who makes it to the top is an absolute tyrant. The top member of the mob family hierarchy makes the rules. There is a violently enforced code of conduct. Because of the precarious nature of the might makes right structure, demands for absolute loyalty are made based on power, not on principles of true respect or love, morality. The paranoia of the tyrant is ever present, therefore the demands for shows of loyalty are frequent. The capriciousness of the tyrant exposes how the code is not based on anything objective. Their subjective and selfish whims are the basis for the rules. Truth is not welcome if it contradicts the demands or wishes of the tyrant. This usually leads to the downfall of the tyrant at some point, though it may take decades for it to occur. The sycophants learn to tell pretty lies in order to keep the precarious peace and to calm the obsessive paranoia of the top dog. Because truth is not valued, true freedom vanishes. Without truth or freedom, integrity to objective principle doesn't exist. Accountability is to personality, not to morality. Break the code of conduct of the tyrant above you and suffer punishment that never matches the crime. Disproportionate response is what is dished out because fear is what keeps the members in line. If you couldn't tell already, the mob family model is the one in which the narcissist thrives. As much as they are able to, they will try to enforce the mob family codes of conduct within their own families. As you can see by the qualities of the two family models, there is no real comparison between the two, only contrasts. Similarities are by appearance only, not substance. This means you cannot have a family that is part mob family model and part healthy family model. The two cannot be joined in any way because doing so would fundamentally change the underlying social structure for good or ill, depending on the direction of the change. For you Christian readers, consider the two family structures I've outlined in this way. One is based on God-given and heavenly principles, i.e. love-based, and the other on satanic or evil, i.e. selfish, narcissistic, principles. Christ demonstrated by his death that willingness to adhere to truth and love-based principles means being willing to stand true to these principles, even if it means letting go of life itself, because life cannot continue to exist in the absence of these truths. We have seen this demonstrated in the human realm time and again when we witness men willing to die for the principle of freedom. Freedom and truth are inseparable twins. Can you marry together principles of evil with principles of good? No. See 2 Corinthians 6:15. The Bible provides many examples of how God has had to sever a destructive member from the family in order to better preserve the family. You don't see God making bargains with a tyrant in order to gain peace. Revelation 12 gives a clear picture of war in heaven, of all places, in order to prevail against Satan and his angels. Truth won in that war and Satan was cast out. The two models of family not only can't be married together, the truth-based family must war against the other in order to restore order and peace. It was Christ himself who said these, shocking to some, words. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth, I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Matt. 10:34-36. Those are the words of a warrior. Are you willing to battle for truth, righteousness and peace in your family? I'll ruminate more on this subject in the next post. Decision time. If your desire is to live in something resembling the healthy family model as outlined in the last post, then you are forced to make some decisions. If the dynamics of your family of origin more resemble the mob family model, you are going to have to recognize the mob family will never become the healthy family as long as the narcissist is allowed by other family members to maintain their tyrannical rule over them. If you decide to keep the mob boss, i.e., the narcissist, in your family, then you are deciding to maintain the structure of the mob family. You have the right and even the obligation before God and your fellow human beings to fight for the healthy family. This means you have to remove the unrepentant and recalcitrant evildoers from your community if there is to exist a healthy family. You can't have everything in this life. You have to make choices. If you want a healthy environment for yourself and your own family, you are not going to be able to operate by mob family rules. You are certainly not going to achieve a healthy family if you keep the mob boss around. People agonize over the rightness or wrongness of keeping the destructive and tyrannical narcissist in their family. What you really need to focus on is what kind of family structure are you trying to create for yourself. Are you wanting to live in the healthy family model or the mob family? This is the decision you face. You cannot live in both. Since you are one human being, you have to make a choice as to where you want to live. You can't bilocate. Neither can your mind. What nobility is there in keeping yourself bound by the laws of the jungle where might makes right, which the mob family model demands? Loyalty to family at the cost of integrity, principle, freedom and human worth does not sanctify your loyalty. Loyalty to principle, not personality, is what leads to nobility of purpose and character. The moment you decide to not play by the rules of the mob family, someone is going to take a contract out on your head. You are in a war whether or not you are willing to admit it. The mob family cannot tolerate someone who decides to get out. So if you are a pacifist, you are sunk. Signs that you are a pacifist would be if you worry about hurting the narcissist's feelings, you feel guilty for standing up for your right to make your own decisions, you think you just haven't found the right way to say things so as to convince the mob boss that their behaviors are not acceptable, you feel that family is everything, so it would be wrong for you to do anything which would end up with you cutting off from family. Or you are afraid to protect your own children by withholding them from contact from destructive family members because, after all, isn't family everything? If you hold on to these rationalizations, you are destined to stay enmeshed with the narcissist's twisted family dynamics. The war is as good as over. You lose. If you are someone who is willing to fight, but only to a certain point, then you aren't in this to win and you're screwed too. You have to be willing to take it all the way, or you may as well save yourself the headache and not fight at all. If you don't have more determination than the narcissist does, then you may as well just roll over now and offer up your tender underbelly. As noted in my last post, when there was war in heaven, the end result was that the rebels were cast out. So if you're looking for the objective of war with the narcissist in your life, this would be a good one to use. The objective: cast out the narcissist. Don't bother to stand up to the narcissist and their mob family unless you're willing to take it all the way. By that, I'm not saying you will absolutely have to end up cutting off the narcissist from all contact with you. It may not need to go that far depending on you and your ability to deal with them. Some people have the emotional strength to continue some minimal contact with the narcissist, but it is never without cost. You have to be willing to put up with a certain amount of pain and chaos if you decide to maintain any contact with the narcissist. I'm talking about a mindset. Having the mindset that you are no longer going to play by any of the narcissist, mob family rules ever again is the only way to successfully engage in this war. The narcissist is naturally fearful of a person they can't control. If you decide to live by a different set of rules and values, the narcissist may think you are asserting your right to the mob boss position of the family. Or, if we look at this in terms of the social structure of pack animals, like dogs, you will be perceived as going for the alpha position. Depending on the type of narcissist you're dealing with, they may even grant you that position and start looking like they are a milder and gentler version of themselves. This is a ruse designed to buy them the time to reassert their dominance. Hopefully, you have the moral character to not be seduced by this apparent new position of dominance in the family, because that would mean you are still playing the mob family rules and haven't done anything but beat the narcissist at their own game, for the time being. So, don't engage in this war unless you are able to resist being seduced back into their mob family when you suddenly find the narcissist cowering before you. Some people are not really willing to walk away from the mob family model when what they really want is to be the one on top. If that is you, then you're really not much different than the narcissist is, since you're aspiring to be in his or her place. The narcissist lives by rules and codes that are antithetical in every way to a healthy family dynamic. If you desire to have a healthy family, you have to choose between the narcissist and your hope for something better. If you want something better, it'll require you armor up and engage in moral warfare. The narcissist refuses to live in the healthy family. So you have to decide which you want more. You can't have both.